Naomi Brooks had always known how to make herself invisible. At 28, she'd mastered the art of moving through the opulent halls of the Romano mansion like a ghost, quiet, unnoticed, untouchable. Her uniform was always crisp, black, simple, and her dark curls tied into a tight bun that left no stray hair to betray her presence. But invisibility was a fragile illusion, one that would shatter in moments. Today was different. The Romano mansion pulsed with a rare chaos, an orchestra of crystal chandeliers sparkling, white roses spilling across marble staircases, and the soft clinking of champagne glasses in preparation for a wedding that promised to unite two of New York's most influential families. Naomi's feet padded across the polished floors as she tended to little Sophia Romano, the 4-year-old girl who had transformed from an innocent charge to the center of Naomi's heart in the last 3 years. Sophia clung to her like a lifeline, tiny hands gripping Naomi's wrist. Her dark eyes, mirrors of her father's, flicked nervously toward the grand ballroom where Isabel Sinclair, Alejandro Romano's fiancée, glided like a predator in designer silk and diamonds. The woman's ice-blue eyes scanned the room with practiced perfection, never truly landing on anything of value except herself. Naomi crouched beside Sophia in a hallway just off the grand ballroom. "It's okay, Piccolola," she whispered softly. "Everything will be fine." Her voice was calm, but her heart pounded. In 2 days, Alejandro would wed Isabel, and everything would change. Naomi had no right to the ache twisting in her chest. He was the most feared man in the city, mafia boss, businessman, predator, protector, and she was just the nanny, just the maid. I heard Miss Isabel talking," Sophia murmured, her tiny bottom lip trembling. "She said I don't need a nanny anymore. She said I'm going to boarding school." Naomi froze, her hands clenched at her sides. Boarding school. A 4-year-old. Naomi's chest tightened at the thought of Sophia being ripped from the home she loved, from the only safe place she'd ever known. Then came the sharp click of high heels. Isabel's voice, saccharine but razor-sharp, sliced through the air. "There you are, Sophia. Come along, darling. The photographer is waiting. Daddy, you must see me now." Naomi rose instinctively, but Isabel's hand shot out and gripped Sophia's wrist like a vice. "Miss Isabel, you're hurting her," Naomi said quietly, keeping her voice calm. "I'm her soon-to-be stepmother," Isabel hissed, her smile freezing into a blade. "And I know how to handle a child better than some overzealous maid. Now, go make yourself useful. Fetch the champagne from the cellar. Simple tasks for simple people, right?" The bridesmaids laughed behind perfectly manicured hands. A blonde whispered, "Honestly, why does Alex keep her around? She's just a maid." Isabel smirked in approval. "A nanny? Semantics. She cleans up messes either way." Naomi's jaw tightened. She had survived worse, heard worse, but seeing Sophia whimper under that icy grip ignited something inside her, a quiet, simmering rage that refused to be invisible any longer. "Let her go," Naomi said, voice low but firm. Isabel's eyes widened. "Excuse me? You—" "Let her go," Naomi repeated. The hallway stilled. The distant sound of wedding preparations faded into a tense silence. Then he appeared. Alejandro Romano, walking like a shadow with predatory grace, his tailored black suit sharp, hair perfectly in place, dark eyes piercing. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees as his gaze locked on Isabel. "Sophia, come here," he said gently. The little girl ran into his arms, pressing her face into his chest. Alejandro's eyes never left Isabel's. This is nothing," Isabel faltered, voice honey-sweet but brittle. "Just a misunderstanding." Alejandro's jaw tightened. "It was not nothing. She is my daughter. I will not allow anyone to harm her, physically, emotionally, or in spirit. You are done." The air between them crackled. Naomi's breath caught. 3 years of careful observation had taught her to read his moods, sense the danger coiled beneath his civilized surface. Right now, that danger was focused, precise, and lethal, and it was directed at Isabel. "You've been planning to send her to boarding school without discussing it with me," Alejandro continued, calm, controlled, but dangerous. "It was for her education," Isabel said, attempting sweetness. "The best schools." "Is that why you thought it okay to treat my daughter as an obstacle?" Alejandro's voice dropped to steel. "The wedding is off." Naomi's heart stopped. The words hung in the air. Isabel's mouth opened, then closed. "You can't mean that." "I do. The invitations are sent. I don't care about alliances, contracts, or appearances. I care about Sophia, and anyone who disrespects her, or the woman who has loved her like I never could without her, is out." "Get out," he said quietly. And with one gesture, Marco, the head of security, appeared, silent, looming. Isabel's fury erupted, her high-pitched voice echoing down the hall. "You'll regret this!" Alejandro's eyes darkened. "Unless you want me to discover exactly what I know about your offshore accounts and creative tax evasion, I suggest you take the generous exit I offer." Isabel turned on her heel, storming toward the exit with her entourage trailing, leaving behind an air of disbelief and whispered scandal. Alejandro turned to Naomi. His gaze softened, but there was fire beneath the surface. "This includes you," he said quietly. "You are more than a nanny. You've shown Sophia love, care, devotion, more than any blood relative, and I've noticed. For 3 years. Naomi's heart pounded. "Alejandro, this isn't... You could have anyone in the world. I choose you. Because of her. Because of us," he whispered. 3 years. I've waited to say it, but I can wait no longer. I want us, all of us, together." Tears threatened to fall. Naomi's world had just shifted. Invisibility was no longer safe or possible. Love, loyalty, and danger all collided in the marble halls of the Romano mansion. Outside, the city continued in ignorance of the drama that had unfolded in a hallway just off the grand ballroom, a battle won for a child's happiness, a woman's dignity, and a love that refused to wait. The invisibility and quiet life of Naomi shattered by a high stakes. The Romano mansion was never silent for long. Even after Isabel's stormy exit, the echoes of her fury clung to the hallways, whispering scandal and betrayal into the gilded corners. Naomi moved like a shadow through the corridors, Sophia clinging to her side, tiny fingers twisting in her uniform sleeve. The child's soft whimpers mirrored the tremor in Naomi's own chest, thrill, fear, and uncertainty. "Are they going to be angry?" Sophia whispered, eyes wide and shimmering with unshed tears. Naomi crouched to meet her gaze, voice soft but resolute. "No, Piccolola. We did the right thing. Your happiness. It matters more than their approval." Sophia's lips trembled into a small, fragile smile. But Naomi's own thoughts were far from comforted. Alejandro had just risked a public confrontation, potentially shattering political alliances, corporate deals, and the carefully constructed image of the Romano Empire. For a man like him, that was almost unthinkable. Alejandro, however, was already on the move. He led Naomi and Sophia into the library, a vast room of polished mahogany, gold inlays, and towering shelves filled with leather-bound volumes. The air smelled of old paper, polished wood, and a faint trace of expensive cologne. He closed the massive door behind them, turning to face Naomi with a mixture of intensity and vulnerability that made her heart clench. You You scared them off, Naomi murmured. You could have caused a scandal. Alejandro's eyes darkened, shadowed with emotions he rarely displayed. They deserved it. Isabel wanted to erase you from Sophia's life. That was unacceptable. I will not allow anyone, to harm my daughter or the woman I trust with her. Naomi's throat tightened. Alejandro, I don't even know what to say. You don't need to, he said, stepping closer. His gaze softened as he examined her face. I've watched you care for her for 3 years. I've seen how patient you are, how brave, how strong. You've been everything she needed, and I realized everything I needed. Naomi's eyes widened. A heartbeat stretched into eternity. Alejandro, you're talking about love. Yes, he said simply, voice low and unwavering. I've tried to deny it. I told myself it was just gratitude. But it's not. You are the woman I want. The woman Sophia trusts. The woman I cannot imagine my life without. Before Naomi could respond, the library doors burst open. 2 figures appeared, Alejandro's older brother, Marco, and his mother, Lucia Romano. Marco's tall, imposing frame filled the doorway, expression unreadable but eyes sharp as a blade. Lucia's elegance could not hide the storm behind her eyes. What happened? Marco's voice was calm, controlled, but deadly in its precision. Alejandro moved to stand between Naomi and Sophia. Isabel is gone. She overstepped, threatened Sophia, and I ended the wedding. Permanently. Lucia's lips pressed into a thin line. Permanently? Her voice was silk over steel. Alejandro, a public scandal of this magnitude. Are you aware of the consequences? Isabel Sinclair is ruthless, powerful, wealthy. She won't go quietly. I don't care, Alejandro said, jaw tight. Not at the expense of my daughter, not at the expense of Naomi. Naomi felt a wave of warmth and fear crash over her. She had always tried to stay invisible, but now she was thrust into the center of the Romano storm, by choice and by fate. Marco's eyes flicked to her. You? His tone held curiosity mixed with caution. The nanny? Naomi straightened, refusing to shrink under his scrutiny. I protect the child. That is my job, nothing more, nothing less. Marco studied her for a long, tense moment. Then he nodded, slowly, almost imperceptibly. Good. She needs someone she can trust. But remember, nothing in this house is ever simple. Not loyalty, not love, not family. Lucia, however, remained unmoved. Alejandro, this impulsive action, do you realize what you've done? Isabel will retaliate. Business partners, allies, the press, they will twist this. And you've brought Naomi into our world. Naomi's stomach tightened. She had been careful to avoid Romano politics, mafia dealings, and the dangerous undercurrents of the empire. Yet here she was, her presence now entangled with Alejandro's every choice, every risk. Alejandro took her hand, holding it firmly. Then I will protect her, he said simply. No one will hurt the people I love. Not Isabel, not anyone. The tension didn't dissipate. Lucia's gaze hardened. Protection is more than words, Alejandro. There are rules. There are enemies you cannot anticipate. I've anticipated her, Alejandro said, voice like tempered steel. And I've anticipated everyone who would stand in her way. I've chosen my side. Naomi and Sophia. That is all that matters. Sophia, sensing the gravity of the conversation, clung to Naomi's skirt. Naomi bent down, brushing the child's hair gently. It's all right, Piccolola. We're safe. And now, You have someone who will fight for you." Marco's eyes narrowed slightly, studying the little girl. "She's remarkable," he said. "Intelligent, brave, unafraid. She has your blood, Alejandro." Alejandro shook his head. "No. She has her own courage. But she is my daughter, and I will never allow her to feel powerless again." Lucia's lips pressed tighter. "This family, love and loyalty, they will be tested. Naomi, you have stepped into a world of danger. I hope you understand that." Naomi met her gaze, determination steady in her eyes. "I do, and I am not afraid." For the first time, Lucia's expression softened, just slightly. "Very well. Then we shall see if your courage is enough to survive the storms ahead." The library doors closed, leaving Naomi, Alejandro, and Sophia alone once more. The tension had not lifted, it had only shifted, deeper, darker. Naomi understood that she had stepped into a world where love was both sanctuary and battlefield, and where every choice could have consequences that echoed far beyond the marble halls. Alejandro pulled Naomi close, brushing a stray curl from her face. "I will protect you," he whispered. "No one will hurt you. Not ever." Naomi's heart raced. "And us?" Alejandro's eyes darkened with intensity. "Us is the only thing that matters." Outside, the city moved unaware of the quiet, searing decisions made in the library, decisions that would shape the Romano Empire, Sophia's future, and Naomi's destiny. The storm was only beginning, and they were standing in its eye, calm but prepared for the chaos that would inevitably follow. The skyline of the city gleamed like shards of gold as the sun sank into the horizon. In a penthouse overlooking the urban expanse, Isabel Sinclair paced like a caged predator. Every footstep echoed against the polished marble floors, a rhythm of fury and calculation. Her eyes, sharp and green as winter ice, glimmered with unrestrained wrath. "How dare he?" she hissed to herself. "How dare Alejandro Romano defy me? Defy me!" Her assistant, a young man in his late 20s named Victor, shifted nervously, careful to keep the edges of the storm she radiated at bay. "Miss Sinclair, the wedding cancellation is public now. Rumors will spread. We could—" "Silence!" Isabel snapped, her hand slicing the air as if cutting words themselves. "Do you understand what this man has done? He's humiliated me. In front of the city. In front of my empire. And that woman—" Her lips curled, venomous. "The nanny. The interloper. She dares stand where I should reign." Victor swallowed, nodding rapidly. "Yes, Miss Sinclair. Shall I arrange—" "Arrange?" Isabel's laugh was brittle, jagged with malice. "No, I will handle this personally. I will remind Alejandro Romano that power is not given, it is taken. And I always take what is mine." Meanwhile, miles away, Naomi returned home with Sophia after a tense day at the Romano mansion. She had hoped for peace, for a few moments of normalcy, but the city was restless. The air seemed charged with the electricity of anticipation, as if it knew danger lurked nearby. Naomi glanced down at Sophia, who clutched her hand tightly, eyes wide. "I'm scared," Sophia admitted, voice barely a whisper. Naomi bent down, brushing her daughter's hair behind her ear. "I know, Piccolola, but fear doesn't mean we run. It means we prepare. And we're strong enough to face whatever comes." At the same time, Isabel moved swiftly, her plan precise and chilling. She had contacted her allies, lawyers, media insiders, even underground figures with connections Alejandro would never suspect. A deal was set, one that would strike at the heart of his empire, a contract designed to undermine his business ventures, expose scandals, and bring the Romano name to its knees. In a sleek, high-rise office, Isabel met with her partners. The room smelled of expensive perfume, leather, and cold ambition. Each person around the table was a weapon, ready to execute her plan with ruthless efficiency. "The Romano family thinks they can defy me," Isabel said, her voice icy, commanding. "They think they can protect the nanny and the child. But every empire has a weakness, and Alejandro's weakness is his heart. I will exploit it." One of her partners, a sharply dressed man named Damien, leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "Miss Sinclair, the deal is risky. If Alejandro anticipates it, then he fails," Isabel interrupted. Her gaze swept the room like a predator sizing up prey. "Failure is not an option. Not this time." Back at the Romano mansion, Alejandro was already sensing the storm. Marco and Lucia had left earlier, leaving him to consider the ramifications of his impulsive decision. Naomi watched him, worry etched across her face. "You're tense," she observed softly. "Something's coming." Alejandro's jaw clenched. "Isabel won't stop. She's capable of things most people wouldn't even imagine. I thought ending the wedding would protect Sophia, protect us. But it's only made her more dangerous." Naomi's hand found his, gripping it firmly. "Then we'll face her together. We don't need to fight alone." Alejandro's eyes softened for the briefest moment, then hardened with resolve. "No, not just together. We fight smarter, faster. We anticipate her moves before she makes them." Night fell, and the city lights flickered like distant stars. In the shadows, Isabel's allies moved, executing plans with surgical precision. Anonymous tips to reporters, carefully leaked contracts, financial manipulations, all aimed at destabilizing the Romano Empire while Alejandro's attention was focused on safeguarding Naomi and Sophia. Within hours, subtle tremors began to ripple through Alejandro's world. Partners began questioning decisions. A media outlet published a seemingly minor leak about the wedding, but the insinuations were sharp, scandalous, and designed to provoke outrage. Alejandro read the report, his fingers tightening around his phone. "She's playing a game," he muttered, "and the board is walking right into her trap." Naomi looked at him, worry shadowing her features. "What do we do?" "We fight back," Alejandro said, his voice steady, eyes burning with determination. "But we fight on our terms, not hers." Meanwhile, Isabel observed from her high-rise penthouse, a faint smile playing at her lips as she sipped champagne. "Let the storm come," she whispered. "Let them realize power is never given. It's seized, and I am unstoppable." As the night deepened, Naomi, Alejandro, and Sophia huddled in the mansion, aware that the coming days would test their courage, their loyalty, and their love. The danger was no longer theoretical. It was imminent, real, and unforgiving. In the shadows of the city, a battle had begun, and its outcome would determine the fate of a child, a family, and the fragile love blooming between Naomi and Alejandro. The city awoke under a crimson sunrise, casting an ominous glow over its towering skyscrapers. From her high-rise perch, Isabel Sinclair observed the shifting tides with a predator's precision. The Romantos were moving, but her plans were already in motion. Every leaked report, every financial tremor, every whispered scandal was a calculated stroke in her masterpiece of revenge. In the Romano mansion, the tension was suffocating. Alejandro's mind raced, tracking the domino effect of Isabel's machinations. His empire, carefully built over decades, was beginning to wobble under the weight of her attacks. Naomi, though fiercely protective of Sophia, could see the strain etched into his face. "They're coming," she whispered, her voice tight. I can feel it. Alejandro's jaw tightened. No. We anticipate. We counter. Every move she makes, we have a counter move ready. But even as he spoke, the first signs of chaos arrived. A conference call with key business partners spiraled into conflict, the leaked rumors igniting doubt and suspicion. Contracts were questioned, alliances frayed, and whispers of scandal spread like wildfire. The Romano Empire was under siege, and Alejandro realized that this was no ordinary corporate attack. This was a personal war, orchestrated by a woman who knew his every weakness. Meanwhile, Isabel moved like a shadow across the city. In a luxury sports car, she sped through empty streets, her expression unreadable, but her mind sharp. Her plan wasn't just to destroy Alejandro's empire. It was to humiliate him publicly, to assert dominance over every aspect of his life. At a downtown gala, where Alejandro was expected to secure a critical partnership, Isabel appeared unexpectedly, radiant and untouchable in a crimson gown that caught the light like liquid fire. Cameras flashed, whispers erupted, and Alejandro's carefully constructed world tilted dangerously. Miss Sinclair, Alejandro murmured under his breath, fury and disbelief flickering across his face. He straightened his tie, trying to mask the storm inside. Isabel approached him slowly, each step deliberate, measured, designed to provoke. Alejandro, she said, voice smooth but dripping with venom. I trust you received my little message. Alejandro's fists clenched at his sides. You've gone too far this time, he said through gritted teeth. This isn't about the wedding anymore. It's about destroying everything I've built. Isabel's smile was cold, perfect. Oh, Alejandro, you always underestimate me. This isn't destruction. It's evolution. Your empire will crumble, yes, but only to make room for what I deserve. The gala erupted into chaos as the media caught wind of her presence. Flashing cameras, scandalous rumors whispered in hushed tones, and guests shifting nervously created a cinematic storm of tension. Alejandro's business allies began to question their loyalties, and the political implications were immediate. Every eye was on the confrontation, every mind absorbing the drama. Outside, Naomi held Sophia close, watching the scene unfold with a mix of fear and determination. We have to protect them, Naomi murmured. No matter what happens, Sophia stays safe. Alejandro, sensing the danger but refusing to falter, navigated the treacherous social waters with controlled precision. Every word was calculated, every gesture designed to maintain authority and protect his family. But Isabel was relentless, her attacks both public and insidious, designed to corner him emotionally and professionally. The day ended with a dramatic cliffhanger. Isabel disappeared into the night, leaving Alejandro exposed, the Romano Empire trembling, and Naomi and Sophia vulnerable. In the shadows, Isabel's allies executed the next phase of her plan, subtle, devastating, and unseen, ensuring that the conflict would escalate to a point where only one side could prevail. As the city lights flickered to life, painting the streets in gold and shadow, Alejandro stared out from his office window. The battle lines were drawn, the stakes higher than ever. This was no longer a feud, it was a war. And in this war, love, loyalty, and survival would collide in ways no one could predict. The night was electric, alive with the hum of anticipation and danger. The city glimmered like a jewel, oblivious to the storm brewing in its heart. Isabel Sinclair had orchestrated every move with surgical precision, and tonight, everything would come to a head. Alejandro Romano stood in his private office, overlooking the sprawling metropolis. His empire, though battered, still pulsed with power, but the cracks were undeniable. Every decision, every alliance, every trust betrayed was now weighing on him. He clenched his fists, the tension coiling like a spring ready to snap. Naomi entered silently, her eyes sharp, her demeanor calm yet fierce. "It's time," she said, voice steady. "She's coming for more than your empire now. She wants everything." Alejandro nodded, a flicker of gratitude passing through his otherwise cold, calculating expression. "Then we give her a fight she'll never forget." Meanwhile, Isabel moved through the city with the grace of a predator. Her red gown, now replaced by sleek tactical attire for mobility, shimmered under the neon lights. Every step was calculated, every glance purposeful. She had allies, secrets, and leverage hidden in the shadows, ready to strike at the perfect moment. The showdown was set at the Romano estate, a sprawling fortress of wealth, power, and influence. Security was tight, but Isabel's infiltration was flawless. She slipped past guards, cameras, and digital locks as though the house itself welcomed her. Inside, tension crackled. Alejandro's team had anticipated an attack, but not the scale or audacity of Isabel's plan. Naomi and Sophia stayed in the safe room, hearts pounding, while Alejandro moved like a general on a battlefield, orchestrating defenses, anticipating every maneuver. The confrontation began in the grand ballroom, where Alejandro and Isabel faced each other amidst shattered chandeliers and overturned furniture, a visual chaos mirroring the emotional storm between them. Isabel's eyes burned with defiance, Alejandro's with restrained fury. "You could have walked away," Alejandro said, voice low but forceful. "You didn't have to go this far." Isabel stepped closer, her presence magnetic and dangerous. "You left me no choice," she replied. "You built walls around yourself, around your heart. I had to break through them, in every way possible." The dialogue was sharp, each word carrying the weight of years of betrayal, love, and obsession. Their movements were precise yet unpredictable, circling each other like predators, each aware that a single mistake could be catastrophic. Suddenly, the tension exploded. Isabel activated a series of triggers, digital leaks, timed distractions, and psychological pressure, forcing Alejandro to react on multiple fronts. The estate became a cinematic battlefield. Flashes of light, pounding footsteps, the echo of shouted commands, the glint of strategic maneuvers. In the midst of chaos, Naomi and Sophia were targeted by Isabel's hidden operatives. Alejandro's instincts kicked in, tearing him from the confrontation with Isabel to protect what he held most dear. The scene shifted into heart-stopping action, close-quarters struggle, tense face-offs, narrow escapes. The camera of imagination moves like a drone, over-the-shoulder shots, slow-motion reactions, tight close-ups of eyes brimming with fear and determination. Finally, the moment came. Alejandro confronted Isabel one last time in the rooftop garden under the city lights. Rain began to fall, washing the scene in reflective silver. Every word exchanged was raw, every gesture deliberate. "I never wanted this," Alejandro whispered, gripping her arm. "But it ends tonight." "And it ends on my terms," Isabel replied, tears mixing with rain, determination hardening her expression. "You'll remember me, always." The struggle was brief but explosive. Both were battered, soaked, and breathless. Yet, in the final seconds, a subtle truce emerged, not of forgiveness, but understanding. Their lives, intertwined by passion, revenge, and fate, would never be the same. Outside, the city slept unaware of the empire-shaking drama. Inside, silence fell over the estate, broken only by the distant thunder and the soft drip of rain. Alejandro looked at Naomi and Sophia, relief and exhaustion on his face. Isabel disappeared into the night, leaving behind a legacy of chaos, change, and unyielding will. The story concluded not with a perfect ending, but with transformation. Love, power, betrayal, and resilience collided, leaving every character forever altered. And as the first light of dawn broke over the city, The echoes of this final showdown promised that life, love, and ambition would continue, volatile, unpredictable, and unforgettable.